Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about microplastics. I just read an article from the New York Times based on a study that they just did, and they're coming up with this information about microplastics. And I've been seeing this stuff on the internet and, just the common person, layman, posting stuff about microplastics and how pervasive the thing is now, and you see that kind of stuff and you're like, what microplastics, whatever, and people are saying that it sheds, water bottles shed these plastics into the water and all this stuff, and it's bad for you. And seeing that for several years now online here and there, and then now, after seeing normal people talk about it, and then now they come out with a study that agrees with the conversation that's been going on about it for years. I tend to lend some credence to the study. That's the type of stuff. I just use common sense. If when science just comes out and flat denies things, or when science is promoting shit, like propaganda, brainwashing, the same stuff that the government's saying, whatever, then I tend to take it with a grain of salt. But when they come out and agree with the population, agree with normal people, then I tend to look at it with a little more favorable light. And that's what's happened with these microplastics. Now, microplastics, I guess they're tiny little pieces of plastic. It's not down to the molecular level, so they're little clumps of plastic, so small that they can travel through your bloodstream and even cross the blood-brain barrier. And in the article I read, they said that there is some connection between these microplastics and dementia, but they can't prove that the microplastics are causing the dementia, because the blood-brain barrier in people with dementia are generally thinner and more porous. So it allows stuff through easier. They can't really tell whether the dementia is caused by the microplastics entering the brain, or the microplastics are entering the brain because of the dementia. So they can't really tell yet. So they're still studying that stuff. But I remember back in the early 90s when they started the whole plastic bag thing, and they were going to save the planet with these plastic bags, and everything was changing over to plastic, and it was going to be the best thing for the world, and it was so environmentally friendly. And now these microplastics are everywhere. This plastic, it doesn't go away. The bottle will deteriorate, or the plastic thing or whatever, but the plastic itself, it just breaks down into smaller particles, and then it just enters into the environment. It's bad for the people on the planet. It's bad for the animals. And the stuff they were saying is like they were finding people with like an entire plastic spoon, that amount of plastic, that much plastic in their brain, in these particles all throughout their brain. And that just can't be good for you. You know what I mean? That can't be good for you. Your kidneys have to filter that shit out. It travels all through your body and is doing no telling what. And I honestly try to stay away from the plastic if I can. Just because I didn't like the shit. I've heard, like I said, I've been hearing online that these plastics are shedding particles into our food and into our water. And I try to stay away from that shit as much as I can, but it's almost impossible nowadays, unless you live way out in the country and you're, living naturally. But like I have the bamboo toothbrushes, so I'm not, rubbing that plastic against my teeth and shit. And I try to use glass bottles and containers as much as I can. I try not to cook my food in plastic, in the microwave. Put a microwave bowl in the or a plastic bowl in the microwave. Try not to do shit like that. Microwave popcorn is horrible for you because of that. So many chemicals and the plastic is leached off of that bag because they got to wrap the inside of that bag with plastic. They don't just put it in a paper bag anymore. So yeah, that kind of stuff it's everywhere, and you honestly have to try to stay away from it. And that's the thing that really bothers me about this stuff, is that they told us it was going to save the world, right? They told us that they're going to stop cutting down trees and we're going to save the planet with these plastic bags and all that shit. And they made this big shift over to plastic bags. And nowadays, what are we doing? We got Bill Gates, who's got this company who is literally cutting down trees and just burying them under the ground. That's a fact. It's a real thing. Burying them under the ground for to save the environment, to cut down on carbon or some shit. Even though the trees absorb carbon and use carbon, they need carbon. For some reason, they're killing them and just burying them under the ground so they can no longer absorb carbon out of the atmosphere. And this is the kind of shit where I talk about this kind of stuff, and people get on the comments and stuff and call me an idiot, or call me, whatever kind of name they can come up with, because I'm a science denier and I'm a whatever, But just common sense tells you how stupid this is. This is stupid. Just because his name is Bill Gates doesn't mean he's right. Doesn't mean he's not lying to you. He's not the sainted avatar of truth. He can be a lying, deceptive, money-hungry scumbag billionaire. That can happen. That is possible. And for him to be funding the burying of trees and telling us that it's good for the environment, he's doing it to save us, is the epitome of ridiculousness. You cannot believe that shit. You cannot. It's mind-blowing that an average thinking person can fall for that shit and still be able to function, still have enough cognitive power to feed themselves. It just blows my mind that people fall for this dumb shit. Seriously. I mean, how the hell do you have enough brain power to get up and go to work and make a living and come home and cook yourself something to eat, but then fall for shit like this, that they're chopping down trees and burying them and it's good for the environment? How? It's just mind-blowing. But anyway, we've got all these microplastics because we needed trees so bad. That's what we were told in the 90s. Early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. We needed trees. And that's what the term green comes from. Going green. Because plants are good. We need plants. More trees, more lettuce, more whatever. Plants are good for the earth, for the environment, for the animals. Plants are good. So you can't say you're going green and then at the same time be chopping down trees and burying them. That's not green. That is the opposite of green. Whatever the opposite color of green is, that's what that is. So whether I can half-ass at least respect people who want to do the whole green thing and all that shit and actually do the green thing, right? Don't hurt a plant, don't hurt a deer, don't do whatever, and I'm green. Okay? But when the hypocrisy kills me, oh, I'm going green, we need to save the planet, carbon is bad, and then on one hand, and then on the other hand, I'm killing trees. I've got a company who just bulldozes them over and buries them under the ground. So and for the people who are going green, the average person, you can't support that shit. You can't support that human being and what he's doing. But now, instead of focusing on a renewable source, how to grow trees faster, just for making paper bags and paper cups and all this stuff, growing actual trees just for this purpose, we just abandoned that and gone to making everything out of plastic. And now we've got all this plastic shit. We've got a great garbage patch in the Pacific Ocean, plastic floating all over the place, killing animals. We've got microplastics all over the damn place, killing us probably, possibly giving us dementia and other health issues. And that's the thing that bothers me the most, worries me the most, is dementia. I'm not really worried too much about dying. That doesn't scare me. But the possibility of living with something like that, dementia or shit like that, I had a grandfather who ended up with dementia in the end, and for a few years. And he didn't know what planet he was on. He didn't recognize his wife anymore, my grandma, and just the pain that she went through, having her husband, they'd been married for like 50 something years or something by then. And the pain she went through when he didn't even recognize her. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that to anybody. I don't want to go through that myself. So dementia is, I just don't want to spend my last few years like that, on either side of that. I'd rather just, go to sleep and not wake up one day, or, get eaten by a giant condor or something, not dementia. So yeah, that does concern me, that any kind of connection between some of this shit they're doing and dementia, yeah, it raises a red flag in my head. I don't like that shit. So I'm gonna, after reading this article, I'm gonna do even more toward not ingesting plastic, not using plastic in my daily life. That's just my personal decision I'm making. But there's a lot of ways you can do that. Number one, get rid of all that plastic shit and get glass. I don't know about the water. That's going to be tough, because I drink a lot of bottled water. I live down here in Florida and I work outside, and I drink a lot of water during the summer. I guess I might look into trying to get a glass bottle and filter the water into it, try to get the plastics out of it. I don't know. But I have to figure something like that out. But that's going to be my biggest hurdle, is that. But that's another way that they're making us sick, these huge companies. And that they said that, back then, that it was going to save the planet, right? These plastic bags were going to save the planet. Now, looking back, I know that they were just lying. They were just lying to us. They knew that shit wasn't going to save the planet. They might not have known anything about microplastics back then, maybe. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that. But they knew that they could invest money toward growing trees faster and do better agriculture in order to keep a lot of this paper, the paper products. And paper, it's organic. It breaks down back into the environment. You can compost it. Paper is just, for the environment, is 1,000,000 times better than plastic, maybe 1,000,000,000. And they knew that back then. The bottom line was that these plastic bags, plastic cups, and plastic spoons and shit were cheaper than the other ones. So they could make more money. Period. Bottom line. Their bottom line is the bottom line. They made more money. They lowered the prices of they lowered their overhead and made more profit. That's why they did it. They don't give a shit about the environment. They don't give a shit about our health. And the quicker people understand that, the quicker we can start flipping things around and making a better world for ourselves. And I'm not, honestly, I'm not one of these green, save the world, save the planet people. Those of you who've been watching me for a while, you know that. I just don't like the idea of these huge billion-dollar, trillion-dollar corporations running our lives and making choices for us and lying to us, telling us that this is good for the environment, whatever the case may be, plastic or, low carbon or whatever. It's good for the environment. You got to do this. If you have a heart at all, you'll just start using plastic bags and plastic cups. And a lot of us fell for it. We bought it. Okay, yeah, well, that just makes sense. They're chopping down trees to make this paper. I don't want that. I can't support that, right? Can't support chopping down trees. And now that the environmentalists are supporting chopping down trees and just burying them under the ground, not making anything useful out of them, just bury them, put them in a hole. Yeah. It's so completely backwards and turned around. Everything is so confusing and so hypocritical nowadays. And the lies just compound the lies, and it's insane. It's literally insane. When you're chopping down trees to save the environment, yeah, something's wrong. So, we need to start getting away from these plastics on a personal level. I believe I am personally going to do so, even if I didn't give a shit. Number one, I just hate huge multi-trillion-dollar evil corporations. You can fault me for that if you want, but I don't like them. If they were honest and told the truth and did what was best, and then I would be all for them. But they never do. Never, ever, ever. They always do what is best and for their best interests. They always do what will increase their stock and make them more profits, and screw everything else. Screw the environment, screw us, screw, everything. They don't care. They just do not care. And to these people that believe that Apple and Google and Amazon and all these other companies are so green and just want to give the world a big, juicy hug, yeah, they're just fooling themselves. Because these corporations are basically evil. I mean, that's it. That's it. They get us to trade back and forth this currency, this money, and basically that you boil that down to our time. We give our lives to them. Basically, that's it. Because X amount of dollars equals X amount of hours of our lives. That's how you can't get money without spending time, right? So that's what it boils down to. They're taking chunks of our lives, the biggest chunks of our lives, and whether you're working for them to make them billions of dollars, or you're spending that money you earned working for them to to make them billions of dollars. Either way, they get you coming and going, and they're destroying the planet. They're destroying our health. They're destroying everything to meet that end, to make that money, to gain that control of. They use that money to lobby and all other kinds of shit, and that it makes me sick when I really think about it. But I've strayed off the topic a little bit, but yeah. So the microplastics are turning out to be a real thing, and a real concern, a real health concern, a real environmental concern. And in my opinion, we just need to move away from that shit. As individuals, as a society, as humanity, quit doing that shit, quit using this bullshit, and protect ourselves, protect our community, protect our country, protect our wildlife. It's all wrapped up in the same thing. And I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, I'll leave that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can do so by clicking on that super thanks button down there. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Cup of Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I'll put that link down in the description too. If you're interested in Gen X gear, we got some pretty cool stuff over there at Redbubble, Gen X Thinks and Gen X branded stuff. T-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, all kinds of cool stuff. But I'll put that link down in the description as well. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out a whole awful lot. I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments. Or you can email us, and the email is genxthinks@gmail.com. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.